Hi folks, Dr. Bob. My last video was about how medical doctors, really don't know anything about health. They're not taught that in medical school. And then they come out and they start talking about natural health, which is what I do. And they use this patina of being a medical doctor, being a doctor, being an MD. Please, they're one of these. They got their little fiefdom. They're kind of like lawyers. Like, if you start saying anything about the legal world, are you a lawyer? You haven't gone to law school like us, and we don't know. It's good to know, the law and how it works and everything. But you really don't need to be a lawyer to understand how to read a contract and know what know the law. And the same is true with the medical world. You don't need to be a doctor to figure out what's healthy and what isn't. And yet they've done this to us for centuries now. And so my point is that I want to make in this little video is that all health comes down to one thing, and that really is your diet. And this is what nobody ever talks about. It's always they're not kind of sure which diet, and there's always an argument about that. I always love these doctors who write weight loss books. That's the ultimate kind of what? The doctors know about weight loss? I mean, and it's again, they should write all the books they want, but if you want to listen to a medical doctor about weight loss, they suddenly know something about weight loss. I mean, they teach you that in medical school, And another thing is, just so I always want to say this, if you get into an accident, you need the medical world, you need the medical doctors, you need the hospitals. They kind of suggest to you, if you don't go along with our drugs and this kind of stuff, you don't go along with our jabs and all that kind of stuff, then you shouldn't get medical care of any kind. Somehow you're just not, you don't believe in this, well, we're not going to give you that. We're not going to give you real medical assistance when you need it. So, my point here is that it always comes down to your diet, and nobody really talks about diet other than really true health people. People like myself. There's other ones out there. Paul Neeson talks about it. He's not a medical doctor. I don't know who's around anymore. I don't want to start promoting other people, but because I don't know I don't know what most of these guys believe. I know what I believe. And, I've said it a million times. Would I like to have a nice big burger? Yeah, burgers are pretty good. French fries, yeah, any kind of fried foods, falafels, yeah, you name it. I mean, I like the taste of really bad, poisonous food just as much as anybody else. It's just my thing is I don't eat that food, okay? I don't fill myself up on bread. I don't fill myself up on, I don't eat meat and potatoes. Because it doesn't lead to health. What leads to health is raw fruits and vegetables. You know that for sure because when you look in the wild, okay, you'll see no evidence of chronic disease. Nobody's ever shot a deer or any other wild animal in the wild and brought it back and found it full of cancer, arthritis, fibromyalgia, arthritis, you name it. It doesn't exist. Now, you'll find infectious disease in the wild, but never, ever, never will you find chronic disease truly in the wild. It does not exist. We're the only species on Earth that get chronic disease such as cancer, arthritis, fibromyalgia, you name it, high blood pressure. Other than the animal, we're the only species other than the animals we domesticate and put on a processed food, cat chow, puppy chow diet. And people say, well, you see animals die all the time in the wild. Well, the wild's a rough place. They're not out there with in their little houses and eating little foods and eating raw foods. It's a rough place, so of course they're animals are going to die. We look at what we can do as humans. We can get into our beautiful cars and drive around. Where they're heated in sub-zero temperatures. Our houses are always warm. I mean, it's a lot easier for you to survive. And of course, the great amount of food that you see in the supermarkets these days. I mean, look, the variety, I don't think we have ever had that in human history. Such an incredible variety of foods that are at our disposal just like that. So, and I hope they're not contaminating it because there's a lot of stories of that going on. Which is why, in the end, a garden is the best thing. And I do a lot of sprouting over the winter time because you really can't get those fresh foods. So I sprout. I do a lot of sprouting of all sorts of seeds, broccoli and radish. I do alfalfa. Red clover. Those are just some of the ones that I do. You can sprout any seed and eat it. There's ones that sprouted, and they're incredibly powerful foods. sprouts are incredibly powerful. But it all comes down to your diet. If you can talk about supplements all day, and I'm a supplement king. I love supplements. Let me tell you something. I take so many supplements because you're able to get these nutrients that are really hard to find in foods. But in the end, if you're not living on the right foods, really a raw food diet, which people literally do not want to hear about, that raw food diet. That's kind of a crazy thing. And then being a vegan, unless you're going to eat your meat, fish, eggs, and dairy raw, which you could do that. If you got good quality stuff, you raise the chicken yourself, eat it raw. You're not going to eat it raw. You got to cook it. So go ahead and do that, or take spirulina and chlorella, two most powerful foods in the world, and they're 60% protein. Take those as your protein source. So anyway, that's what it always comes down to, your diet. Diet, diet, diet. The temple he was referring to was his body. And if you see that little man there, he's standing there with a bunch of raw fruits and vegetables. This is how you stay healthy, by eating the right foods. It's not a very popular thing to say. And if you start telling people don't eat meat, you're just going to get a big, gigantic argument from most people. They think meat is the healthiest food when it's a really kind of a subsistence food at best, if you find the right stuff. If you're buying the meat out of the stores, you don't know where that came from. If you're going to fast food places like McDonald's and this kind of stuff, you have no clue where that came from. That's hundreds and maybe thousands of animals put together to make a patty. So you don't know where that came from. You don't know the source of that. So if you think that's healthy, it's not. And if you like the taste of it, well, I grew up eating that kind of food. I wasn't a big McDonald's guy till later when I was in college, but I used to always eat that food. But you learn that this is, not going to lead you to health, and in the end, it's kind of poisonous. I mean, there's a phrase that people say in my business. We don't say it very often, but it really comes from a book from a long time. I think it's called Raw Food Eating. Cooked foods are poison, and that's what they are. They're poisonous. They're poisonous to the body because when you put a cooked food into your body doesn't know what to do with it. Okay, your body doesn't know what to do with a Dorito or chips, potato chips, or pizza, or any of these other garbage foods, let alone just some really quote-unquote healthy home-cooked food. Well, it's okay. It'll give you subsistence, but it's not going to rejuvenate the body at a cellular level, and only raw fruits and vegetables can do that. And supplementing is good on top of that. But this is something these medical doctors will speak about, and they never have, they never will. If you can name one, I did a video years and years ago about McCauley, Dr. McCauley. A good guy, nothing. I don't have anything against these people. He's a good guy, but I mean, he was admitting in this video that raw fruits and vegetables are really the way to go. I mean, that's what really belongs in the body. He didn't, wasn't like a big proponent, but you look on his website, he's always sold, krill oil and all these kind of things. And again, you want to get krill oil, go get krill oil and eat krill, but it's not going to lead to great health. You can get it from the seeds and from the nuts and from things like avocado when you want to get fat in your diet, and you don't need to go out and get a fish of any kind. But that's what they want you to believe. To get iodine, you need shellfish. They're just eating the seaweed like Laminara, which has iodine in it, and then you eat them. They're a middleman. That's all animals are, is a middleman. All the animals. I'm a vegan, and all the animals that people eat, they're vegans. They're all vegans. Okay, the chickens and the beef and the fish and the shrimp and all these things that we don't eat carnivores. Okay, people aren't eating dogs and cats and tigers and that kind of stuff. You might find rare meat in China. They'll eat anything. I know that for a fact. I've been over there a couple times, so they'll eat anything, and that doesn't mean anything and everything is healthy. And of course, if you're going to eat an animal, you better know where it's coming from and how toxic it is. The higher you eat on the food chain, the more toxic your food becomes. Anyway, I've gone on long enough about this topic, but it just amazes me how medical doctors, never talk about health, or diet, I should say. They talk about health, and they're going to tell you, here's how you can take this supplement, and you can do this thing, and you can do that thing. When it gets down to the really nut of it, what are you going to eat? They don't tell you that. And that's what I'm here to do, is to tell you to live on a raw food diet. Very unpopular thing, let me tell you folks. Extremely unpopular. But I do it because I love it. Just like I write literary fiction. This is one of the least popular forms of fiction in the world, is literary fiction. Hemingway helped popularize it, but you look at a guy like James Joyce. I mean, nobody reads James Joyce just because it's so difficult. I mean, it's great literature. That's the kind of stuff I write. But anyway, so I write things that are not necessarily really popular, or do things that are not really popular, but I see that this is really the truth, the way, and this is what you should be doing, and that should be the raw food diet. Dr. Bob, see you guys next time. Hi folks, Dr. Bob. I get a lot of people come into my store, and they're always asking me, I've got cancer, and I've said for many, many years, everybody either has cancer or they know somebody with cancer, and it's been that way for how long? Probably at least 20, 30 years now. When I was growing up, it was still kind of on the rare side, but I grew up in the 1960s. It's very common, and I wrote a book called The Cure in the Mirror, Nature's Protocol for Surviving Cancer. So many of my I discovered, I looked online, YouTube has taken down so many of my videos. If you mention the C word in the title, or you do anything, they take it down. They know a lot more about natural health than apparently I do, and I think anybody else. So where do you start? Well, you start with a parasite cleanse, and what I call a parasite cleanse. You're going to clear everything out of the digestive tract, all the bacteria, viruses, yeast, mold, and fungus, and parasites, and same with the blood. You're going to kill all the silver, you do that with silver, but you're going to take out all the bacteria, viruses, yeast, mold, and fungus, and clear the blood. So you stop eating, you got to fast. You have to at least fast for like half a day, but you really want to fast for like a day or two, or preferably 3 days. And I have a whole protocol. You're going to take liquid angstrom bismuth. Okay, bismuth, that's what they put in Pepto-Bismol, and that's going to kill all the bacteria in your digestive tract. You are going to take my parasite killer blend. That's really about 11 different types of powders that are all meant to kill things, viruses, bacteria, yeast, mold, fungus. I won't go through the whole list right now, but you do that. You take liquid angstrom silver. You take that, you hold that under your tongue. It goes into the body through the sublingual duct and gets into the body. It's the way I recommend you take all your minerals. And this is the most effective way to get minerals into the body, in my opinion. And so you take that, and then again, you got to have clear blood for that. So you got to stop eating. You got to have a clear digestive tract. So you got to stop eating, and that will take care of all that. Then I recommend something called Dissolve. The name of the product is Dissolve Bioactive Silicate. This will remove any kind of nanobacteria. I don't want to get into that right now, but that accumulates in your arteries and can look like plaque, but it's nanobacteria that accumulates. And then biofilm, and it creates kind of a slippery surface so that kind of can't hang in there and go away. So I also recommend you, when you're starting, you should take chaga mushroom, make a tea out of it, especially the kind I have. Everybody, you never want to eat a raw mushroom, according to Paul Stamets, and I agree with that. He's kind of the guru of mushrooms. He really knows, and he says every mushroom should be cooked. I agree with that. But you take this stuff. My chaga comes out of the Adirondack Mountains in New York, and they cut it off the trees, and it grows back after a couple of years, so it's sustainable. But chaga, probably the most powerful anti-cancer mushroom in the world. There's others. Reishi's good, and there could be others as well. But I recommend chaga. Make a tea out of it and just drink that. It has no taste. It's kind of nice. And so that's how it starts, and then just keep drinking water. And you want to create this environment within the body that cancer can't live in. And it's really a protocol for any disease, not just cancer. I have specific things you want to do after that. You do the parasite killer blends, but we start there and kill everything in the digestive tract. And if you really got cancer, this is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a while. You've probably got a very polluted and toxic, environment within your body that has been become conducive for all disease, including the emperor of all disease, cancer. So that was what my book, The Cure in the Mirror, Nature's Protocol for Surviving Cancer, is all about. I spent about half of that book denouncing the medical establishment and why they don't have the answers to any chronic disease or infectious for that matter, and why you want to go with the natural approach and not take the chances with the medical establishment. It's always your decision. It's up to you, and always will be. But this is what I would do. People say, what would you do with cancer? This is what I would do. I would do what I just said. Start with the parasite killer protocol. There's lots of other things. Change your protein source to spirulina and chlorella. Move to a raw food diet. There's a lot of things. It's all in there. But that's how you start, with the parasite cleanse of bacteria, yeast, mold, fungus, and parasites for the body. And that's how we begin the journey to get rid of all diseases, including the emperor itself, cancer. So, Dr. Bob, we'll see you next time. I just want to remind you to buy my books. I've got 8 books on natural health, one on cancer, one on silver, one on water, some other ones. I've been writing books now, believe it or not, 25 years. And go to Amazon.com or Audible. I've got them all on Audible, or go to BobMcCauleyBooks.com. But buy my books, please, and review them. So I've written a whole bunch of books. They're right here. I've written 8 of them on health, 2 of literary fiction. But the one that's taken off is this one here, The Temple. He was referring to as his body, honoring your temple through natural health. It's gone through the roof. I mean, I'm really, really kind of surprised people took such a liking to it. My silver book is big. My water book is really big. But almost all the books are on Audible.com. So if you go to Bob McCauley ND, you can get them on Audible. You can get them on Amazon. They're available a few other places. You can get them off my website directly. But I just want you to get healthy. I want you to read my books. Do yourself a favor and do both of those. See you next time.